One asked that I give some thoughts from the book of Joshua, particularly near the end of the book of Joshua. As I think about the man Joshua, it occurred to me he is one of a very few characters in Scripture that you don't have any negative things about. It occurred to me that we can look at Joshua's character. It reminds me that I want to live a life of integrity. Because one day, somebody's going to do my service. I hope there won't be people there who's going to say, what you saw wasn't what you got. I think Joshua was the real deal. He was a guy that his whole life was integrated to integrity. Oh, may my life be that way. I would say that Joshua's life was a life of consistency. He was a faithful servant. As we've heard about Heather, so many of the things that's been said and read talks about her being there for somebody. Heather was good at serving. Joshua was a servant of the living God. He was the man that led Israel across the Jordan River. He's a man that led Israel around the walls of Jericho. He's a man that led Israel throughout the land and conquered the land. He and Joshua were strong and courageous, consistent in how he lived. And when we come to the passage near the end of the book of Joshua, Joshua stands up and gives a speech. He probably was at least 109 years old. And in the speech, he talks about the goodness of God and all that God had done for Israel, how he had brought them out of Egypt, how he had brought them through the wilderness, how he had provided for them. He enumerated all the things that God had done, how he had given them this land. And then he makes this statement that Tuan wanted me to focus on. It's Joshua 24:15. He said, "And if it is disagreeable in your sight to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves today whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, which were beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you're living." And then he makes this statement. "But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." I've mentioned Joshua's character. I've mentioned his consistency. And here he gives a challenge. It's up to you. who are you going to serve? Basically, he's saying, how are you going to invest your life? Only one life, it will soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. It's very clear that Joshua understood that he couldn't make choices for them. But he says, I'm making choices for me. He says, you choose. Here's my challenge. You choose. You make a choice of how you are going to spend your life. But then he says, I've already made the choice. Me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. You know what? It's the best way to live. It's the smartest choice you can make. It's the greatest direction you can go. It's the best investment in your life. I like Joshua's challenge. Take it. May it determine the whole direction of your life. Ooh. Begin today with the end in mind, so that Jesus will say, well done, good and faithful servant.